Welcome back to Unleash the Player, football's realist podcast. Today, we're joined in the studio by a man who's responsible for the development of some of the hottest young talents coming through the English football system. He's led and captained at both club level and for his country, and he's not bad on the dance floor either. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Mr. Sam Cox. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, thanks, bro. A lot of good facts in there, mate, but the most important one was the last one.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for giving us your time today. Great timing, right? Back in at Spurs, not long back in. What's that been like?
It's been great being back home, back where I came through as a young player. Spent half my life at the football club, coming in as a young 14-year-old, signing at under 15s and going off having my own career, coming back as a coach. I think this would be my 12th season at the club coaching. So yeah, it's fantastic to be back, seeing the staff, some of the staff that were part of the old guard that were there when I was there as a player. Most importantly for me, it's coming back and having an impact on the young players' lives and career, and that's something that means an awfully lot to me. So yeah, it's great to be home.
What did you do with your time off, and was it much needed?
It was much needed, and I think being in the pressured environment that I was in at Oxford City, I put an awful lot of work and a lot of stuff people don't see. Beyond the 90 minutes, I put 100% effort into that opportunity that I got, and I think fans and players and peers, they don't see the amount of effort you put in to try and get success to the team or get a result. Or pre-season was relentless. Having had that opportunity at Willstone back end of last season, and getting success from those last 5-6 games, trying to help the team survive relegation. And, we managed to do that against the odds. And, that was an awful lot of work that people didn't see, and a lot of sleepless nights. And having not got that job in the summer, which was tough to take at the time, the job having gone to Matty Taylor and the club deciding to go with a different option. But then off the back of that, Oxford City contacting me and telling me to go through the interview process. Going through the interview process in the summer, I did 3 interviews to get the job, managed to get the job, and overnight it was back to work. In terms of recruitment, players that we were deciding to bring in, what pre-season would look like, periodising players' minutes during pre-season, and obviously preparing for the start of the league season, what the training program would look like. So many things go into that, and I think having had the background that I've had at Spurs for so long, me and my assistant Liam Badcock, we try to do things and give the players the best opportunity possible, but to try and feel as professional as possible. We try to make it feel professional as possible. So there was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of work that goes into it, but that's what you've got to do, and that's a sacrifice you've got to make if you want to be successful. The opportunity came back to work again at Spurs, so I've been chomping at the bit to get back into the game. I'm ready for it now. I've had that time off, well-needed time off, but I feel good, and I'm ready to go back in and give my all, because I think if you're not ready to give your all and you're 100% in football, there's no point in you being there. I think especially working with young people and kids, you have to give all or nothing. Otherwise, no point.
For sure, I can absolutely vouch for that from my experience working with you on the playing side and also coming in the coaching side. You're absolutely all or nothing, 100%.
Thank you.
So hopefully feeling a bit more refreshed.
Definitely.
And raring to go.
Hopefully I look it, because I was looking I was looking at my interviews the last couple of games. I think Leamington was my last game at Oxford, and it was under the lights, and it was a midweek game, and I was looking at myself. I still look back at some of our games and look back at some of my interviews as well, and the lines on my forehead, the bags under my eyes, the greys on the sides of my head. I was thinking, God, blimey. But now I had that couple of months off. I went away, had some time to myself, friends and family, got to go out when I want, got a bit of relaxation time. I feel so much more refreshed now, and I feel mentally recharged. So that's good.
Could you ever have anticipated the type of pressure that you're under as a first team manager, and the fact that if something's going wrong, that falls on you, right? What does that feel like?
No, I've always known that pressure comes with the job. But I mean, if you can't take the pressure at Conference North level, how do you expect to climb the ladder? And I've got ambitions of being a manager at the highest level.
Yeah.
So if I can't do it at National League North level, then there's a problem. So I think you have to understand the demands of what comes with that, and of course I understand that there's pressure in everything, in every job, not just football managing. And you have it as a player, you have it as a coach, whether that be in development, whether that be in first team. Yeah, there's obviously added pressure when you take on a first team role, but I understand the demands. And to be honest, even when felt like was under pressure and weren't getting the results that we required, I was actually I'm a man of faith, so I'm always someone that you could put 100% in, but ultimately what will be will be.
It's in God's hands.
Yeah, it's in God's hands, and when that whistle blows, you prepare the boys as much as possible, but ultimately it's down to those boys on the pitch to produce, and obviously our job and responsibility is to try and help and guide those players that we select to perform the best of their ability, and to help guide them during game if there's stuff tactically or so that we need to change. But we tried our best, and yeah, like going back to the question, there was pressure, but it's normal.
What's the difference, would you say, playing academy football compared with first team football, and also then managing academy football versus first team football? Because you've done that all.
Yeah, I think going back to the pressures that we spoke about before, pressured environment, there's always pressure. So whether you're playing an academy game, an under-16 game, an under-18 game, or a 21s, that player still feels pressure in that moment, regardless of what anybody wants to say, whether they're playing in front of 30,000, whether they're playing in front of their parents, agents, whatever it is, there's always pressure.
Can you go into more detail? What are some of those pressures that those kids will be going through?
I see obviously, I've been in the academy system for a long time, and, helping these kids develop. At Spurs, there is an awful lot of pressure that these kids are under, and people say, oh, it's just academy football. It's not just academy football. These kids are dealing under high pressure situations, trying to fend for themselves and keep their jobs. They're not like the ordinary kid. They're not the average 16-year-old, average 14-year-old, because the average 14, 16-year-old, they're at school and focusing on education solely. These boys are chasing after their dreams, but in jeopardizing situations where if they don't perform, they're out the door and they don't get the contracts, and then they're having to find new clubs, and it is a dog-eat-dog environment. So that to say that there's no pressure at academy level, there is an awful lot of pressure that these kids are under, having to focus on education as well, get their GCSEs done, get their homework done, travel to training. Some of these kids are traveling 2 hours to get to training, then get home, then having to do their homework, then having to perform and make sure they do everything right, make the right decisions, be professional. It is an awful lot. People don't realise that these kids, I've got so much respect for. I've seen it. I've been through the system, and that's why I'd like to think that being a younger coach at the club or wherever I've been, I understand what these kids are going through in terms of managing. I guess, like I say, I think being a younger coach at the club, having done the process, I almost see myself as a big brother in an academy environment, and I try and help the boys and guide them as much as I can, and be relatable, and try and steer them maybe areas where I could have done better, and also seen like the likes of the Harry Kanes and those boys that have gone through what they did, and I'm more of a big brother in an academy environment, whereas when you're a manager and you're in a senior environment, you are the authoritative figure, and you have to get that respect, but you earn that respect. And again, you're the father figure. Even when I was at Oxford, and some of the boys were similar age to me, some were even older.
Even older, yes. Yeah.
But when you stand in front of them in the changing room, they hold on to your every word, and if you don't come with knowledge and wisdom and give the right information, tactically, technically, whatever it is, they will suss you out pretty quickly. They will suss you out very quickly. So I remember my first team talk I'd done when I took over at Wealdstone, when I took over from David Noble last bits of the season, and I came in the dressing room. I changed my tracksuit bottoms. I used to come in tracksuit bottoms as assistant manager. I used to come in my tracksuit. Then as manager, and now coming in a shirt, trousers, and a little bit smarter. I stepped into the changing room, and the look the players were giving me automatically overnight was different. And they're looking up at me differently now. And I remember looking, and I was just quiet for a bit. I thought, blimey, like, these boys are relying on me to give them the right information to get the result now. So,
how do you feel in that moment?
I relished it. I mean, for me, the transition into management is not has not been too different to what I was as a player. As a captain, you know me, I was in the changing room, very vocal, speaking to the boys at half time,
it's very natural
full time.
for you.
It was a natural process, but certainly, you look at some of the boys that I'd played with, they now look at me different, and they're holding on to my every word. So it was like looking at your kids. I don't have any kids, but I can only imagine this is what a dad would be like to the son or daughter. You know what I mean? So, like I say, I think the difference between how I am in an academy environment to what I'm in a first team environment, like I say, probably more of a big brother in academy and probably more of a father figure in a first team environment. But I think the biggest thing is being relatable and just being normal, to be honest. And the last thing I'd want to do is change who I am as a person.
Being real and authentic, basically.
That's what it's all about.
Being true to you.
Yeah, man.
And credit to you with the Woolstone situation. You know, like you said, you relished it, and I mean the results and what you're able to achieve there in a short space of time speaks for itself.
Yeah.
The way that the big brother figure with the academy boys and the way that you guide them, other than obviously on the pitch, tactical, technical stuff, which of course you're top at, what other ways are you able to guide these boys?
I think outside of football also, and the expectations and demands, and helping them with that, and maybe some of the information that different coaches may give. But I feel like I can help with the stuff outside of what goes on between the four walls, to be honest. I think the boys probably see that, my career's taken me all kinds of paths, and if you'd said to me the path that I'd been on last 15 years and how that would look 15 years prior, I would say, no chance. Some of the opportunities that I've got through football, it's unbelievable, to be honest. Sometimes I have to pinch myself in some of the rooms that I find myself sitting in. I think also, the boys having a stimulus outside of football, staying mentally focused, mentally driven, and, when times are tough, can you be that critical friend to them? Can they pick up the phone to you, which some of them do, and they say, Coxie, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. Well, this is what I did in this situation, or this is what I think you should do. So I think those are the kinds of things that, I've helped some of the boys that, are even succeeding in the first team now. And, I'd like to think that I'm always somebody that can, pick up the phone and be there for someone and, help them with whatever. It doesn't just have to be football. It might be a bereavement. It might be, a struggle with, I don't know, relationships. Like I said, I think it comes back to being that critical friend, bigger brother. And, I see myself as that in an academy environment for sure.
Sure. And it sounds like you're doing a great job. And you mentioned it, right? Some of the boys that have come through that actually play in the first team. I've got the names here. Dane Scarlett, Oyindamola Ajayi, who I believe actually went to the same school as me, funnily enough. Yeah. Mikey Moore. They all scored for Tottenham. Or was it on Thursday in the Europa League? Yeah. I mean, how does that feel, knowing that you've had a role in the development of those players to where they are now?
I came home on Thursday night, and I went around to my mum and dad's house, and it was a feeling I'd not had before, because although there'd been players that have gone through to the first team and had appearances, etc., I think last Thursday was special because, for example, Dane, Mikey and Damola, I've been there since they've all been in the building. Over the years, players have gone into the first team, and I might have played a small part, but these boys, I was there from the day they walked into the building.
What, like under 11s, under 12?
Well, some of them, Mikey was there from 6-7 years old. Damola came in, I think, as a 13. Dane's been in from the start as well. So I've been here. I've seen that whole process. So I think it felt a little bit different. I've been there through that whole journey. So I've seen them come in, having to tie their shoelaces, and then Thursday night, it all coming together. All 3 goal scorers, academy products. I've got goosebumps now talking about it. a feeling I've had like no other. I'll be honest. It was amazing.
Incredible. And a beacon of light for Spurs in what's now been a pretty difficult moment for them.
Man, it was I think it gave everybody a lift. I think everyone at the club just needed that, to be honest. For those 3 boys to get the opportunity, take it, seize it, but the effort that's gone into that and seeing the amount of effort that these coaches have put into them, I don't think developers and young academy coaches get enough credit at schoolboy level, and when they go into the youth team. I don't think these coaches get enough credit at all because they put in so much effort and try and help these boys have careers. And a lot of the time, the first team manager, wherever it may be, will be the one that gets the credit. But there's been countless people that have put huge effort into those boys for that one moment. Now, let's hope that there's plenty more of those moments to come. But certainly, that's something to be celebrated. Last Thursday night was a phenomenal moment for everyone.
Amazing. Let's give them that credit now, including yourself, and many congratulations to everyone that was involved.
Yeah, it's
in
a
the
collective.
process.
It's a collective and testament to those boys for being able to take on information, applying it, having the mental resilience, and also their parents too, because
massive role.
Oh, massive. I sent a message to some of the parents, the boys that played that night, and they've dropping them up and down training. We go back to that commitment during when they were kids and taking them to school, taking them to training, paying for their subs when they're kids to the clubs, their equipment, boots. An awful lot of investment goes into this, and the parents deserve huge credit as well. So, fantastic for everyone.
Why have those 3 been able to get to where they are, where, like you say, so many others maybe even have more ability than them, but aren't able to? What is it, the characteristics? What are you looking for when you recruit, or when you understand these players actually have got a chance, these young players, of going all the way?
I think it's a bit of timing as well. I think it's everything coming together at the exact right time. Going back to what I said before about young players actually having the ability but not getting the right opportunity at the right time, because say the player in front might be doing phenomenally well, or the side might be in a better position in the league table, which obviously makes it more difficult for a young player to get his opportunity and breakthrough. I think everything has to kind of accumulate together, and certainly it takes a lot of hours on the grass, resilience to prepare for that one moment, hundreds of thousands of hours on the grass. So you've got to prepare yourself, have the right opportunity, have the right timing where a breakthrough comes. And it just all has to come together. But like I say, there's been players that have done exactly the right things and not got their opportunity. But, Mikey's a phenomenal talent. And all 3 are great people, I must say as well. Dane, a great young man. Damola, great young man. Mikey, they're all so humble. They all work so hard, and everything came together at that right time. And like I say, long may it continue. Hopefully they get more opportunities, and hopefully more young players do. I think sometimes young players, they just need to be thrusted into an environment to show what they can actually do. And there is certainly a fear at times playing young players at the top level, but we've got some fantastic talent, and I think Thursday was a testament of what our academy can produce.
For sure, like you say, the only way to learn how to do something is to actually do it. And you see, 100%. Not just with Spurs, even I think at the Arsenal Tottenham game the other night, you've got Myles Lewis Skelly on the pitch, who's just been a revelation. Fantastic. Again, with the timing, a couple of injuries here and there. And Ethan Nwaneri, the boy Archie Gray at Spurs. Archie Gray, playing at centre back. These players.
Fantastic.
Incredible.
And regardless if it's Arsenal, Spurs, doesn't matter the club, I think football is tough. It is a relentless industry, and I think for young people and young players to see fantastic examples like the names that you just mentioned going to do what they're doing, performing at the highest level, which actually this can be done. Leaving school at 16 or 15, whenever these boys leave school, to then less than 24 months later scoring and playing at the highest level. is a great example for these young players to see, and it gives everybody a little bit of hope, because it is difficult, it is so tough, and that gives these boys hope. I love seeing it. I don't care what club it is. I think it's fantastic for young people to see that, yes, it can be done. So sure. Yeah, good stuff.
Brilliant. And what kind of one key piece of advice would you give to the academy players, or to the players in the development squad coming through, who are trying to get to where Myles Lewis-Skelly is right now? Or
I think it's about, we had an expression, John McDermott, he's been like a father figure to me and a mentor. He's now director of football England and the FA, and he used to say about pounding the rock, and just keep grafting through the challenges, having that resilience, because the career is so up and down. I think if you keep pounding the rock, you might not see it in the initial, but you keep chipping away. God willing, the opportunity does come. You might have to, like I say, do the thousands of hours on the grass and not really seeing a route into that first team, a route into the breakthrough, but keep chipping away, keep pounding that rock, and do everything that you can in your own capacity. Live right off the pitch. Make sure you're early, make sure you're doing your extras, make sure you're eating right, living right, sleeping right, doing all the right things for that one opportunity. When you get that one opportunity, make sure you're ready. And I think you spoke about the Arsenal boys, Myles Lewis-Skelly and Ranieri, and obviously the Spurs boys the other night. They're great testimonies to that. And obviously I know a lot of the coaches at Arsenal, and they speak exactly of that about those boys. And again, going back to the Spurs boys, they've done exactly that, waiting for that right opportunity. So all those hours for that one moment, make sure you do it right.
As you say, right, as an elite athlete and as an elite football player, it's about being continuously in a state of readiness for whenever that opportunity may come. I'm sure you've been on the bench before. I've been on the bench before, and come on after literally 1 minute players on that.
Yeah.
So you just never know, like you say, when things align and when you're going to get that opportunity. So keep using the pound in the rock mentality.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's always got to be a state of being ready, not getting ready. So I think that was probably a little bit of me, to be honest, back in my day. I when I had opportunities to go and train with the first team and being around the first team, I was like, oh wow, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to change this. No, I should have been
doing that anyway.
Should have been doing that anyway. Should have been doing my ice baths. And don't get me wrong, I always, me, I always try and do everything exemplary and try and be as professional as I can. But I think being ready rather than mix it up and changing and then getting ready when you get that opportunity. You should be ready, biting at the bit, ready to go, like itching to get on the pitch. Like Demola was the other night. Demola's like, he's itching, waiting for his opportunity. 3 minutes in, comes in off the line, plays a bounce with Dane, takes a touch inside, puts it in the bottom corner. He's been doing that since under 13s, under 14s.
And you've seen that.
I've seen it. He's been
every day in training.
And he's been doing it. He's been working for that one moment, 3 minutes into the game. But he comes on the pitch, he's got personality, enthusiasm. I think that's all fans want to see. I think the game of football's changing. Everybody's seen like the style now. It's a lot different to what it was 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago when I was 10, 15 years when I was coming through. But I don't think it changes in terms of what the fans want to see, in terms of enthusiasm, heart, desire. That will never change. I think that's what the English spirit is all about, and that's what the fans here want to see. And I think when those boys come on and get that opportunity, I think everybody sees the enthusiasm, the heart, the desire, the want, and they put it into practice. And they've been doing that for a long time. So to get that opportunity was great. And
you certainly are someone who has always demonstrated that and led by example on that. And that's why you don't become a captain of your country, which I want to go on to talk about now. Without those kind of characteristics, obviously as a player, but as a human being as well. So currently assistant manager of Guyana, played obviously on the big stage for the country and captained them. What's that been like for you? What's that journey been like for you over the last years?
I'm coming up to my 10th year now with the national team. And I always said in my head that 2025 would be my last year of playing. And I had a mood board that years ago I wrote out that the Gold Cup 2025 was going to be when I bow out and hang the boots up. A few things change and circumstances happen, but I tell you what, this 10 years journey that I've been on with my national team is a journey like no other that I could ever have imagined. It has been such a blessing, more than I can say or have even fathomed when I was a young 24-year-old, 25-year-old, just, dropping into non-league, having done this journey now, and the experiences that I've had, countries that I've seen, people that I've met along the way. Captaining my country is without doubt been the single-handedly most proud achievement of my career, and I can't put into words what an absolute honour it's been to walk my country out at the biggest stage. And
what are you feeling in that moment?
It's been great. Pride, almost everything comes together. Like I remember walking out, coming out against America at the Gold Cup, and the interview that I done after the game, and the fans, and I'm looking around, I'm thinking, this is what I've dreamt of. I if I'm saying to you now, did I dream of playing for Guyana at the Gold Cup when I didn't even think about it. That wasn't part of my thought process back then. It was, purely focused on can I try and break through at Tottenham. That was my focus. But I think to play international football is a fantastic achievement. I don't care what people say, whether you play for a country that's ranked 200 for a country, that's the best in the world. Representing your heritage is inexplainable. It's such a proud thing, and that's why I always try and encourage players. If you're not playing for, I don't know, if you're English and you've got Caribbean or African or Asian descent, and you have the opportunity to go and do it, go and try. I can't encourage enough, because I've had so much life experience through doing what I've done over these last 10 years. But going back to it, after the America game, I'm standing on the pitch, in the middle of the pitch, and I'm looking around like, as a kid in school, this is what I wanted. This is everything that I wanted. The bright lights, represent your country, seeing your mum and dad in the crowd, 30,000 fans there was at the time, and marking Christian Pulisic at the time. It was like, I had to take a breath. It was fantastic.
Surreal.
Yeah, surreal, really surreal. And some of the moments have been so surreal. I've got so many stories that probably don't have enough time on the podcast. But
there's to get you back on.
Oh man, the international stuff has been such a blessing. I'm so grateful to God for that opportunity, and I'm still going. So we're pushing still. It's been a process. I've always been quite active on social media and everything. Yeah. And at the time when I first got called up for Guyana, people didn't even know who we were. People still thought we were Ghana. Do you know what I mean? So I think, that cohort of players, like me, Neil Danza, Matty Briggs, we kind of made a little bit of noise at that time, where people didn't know that it was accessible to play for a country like Ghana. And we've, we'd like to think that we'd helped with that exposure, and where we are now, acquiring services of players that are playing in the Championship, whereas back then it was always non-league players. And apart from Danzy and Briggsy was playing, Danzy's had a fantastic career. Briggsy was playing at just come out of Fulham at the time. So, we made quite a lot of noise, and I think we helped with that exposure to represent maybe a lesser ranked nation. And where we are now, we got a lot of Football League players playing in, the Championship over here. We got players playing in the MLS, in Canada and New Zealand, all across the world. So I'd like to think that exposure on social media back then, and the noise that we made, has helped elevate the program.
I've got to say that I believe you are an example of someone who has been able to use social media in a positive way, whereas many footballers or athletes, at that level, it can get quite nasty, abuse and things like that. I've certainly experienced some of that myself. How have you been able to turn it around, into such a positive, energetic, bringing people together kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it was important, and I got a lot of stick for it in my early stages.
Yeah.
I remember at Barnet, I remember Tony Cleanthos coming up to me, and
Oh, wow.
Tony was saying, you need to come off that bloody Twitter. You need to come off Instagram. And I was doing YouTube videos and stuff at the time. And
That's the chairman of Barnet.
yeah, the chairman of I do get on with Tony. Tony's top. But, you know, I always knew that there was always something on my heart. I always knew there was a story to be told. And my journey has not been the journey of the average footballer that has done the journey as well. You know, especially dropping down into non-league, it's taken me on a roller coaster of a ride. And I think it was important that people saw that having failed at a level can still amount to something positive. And I always try to make the best of all situations. And I know we're all on a path. And as you know, going back to it, I'm a huge believer. I believe in God. I believe in a path being set out for us. I believe in sometimes our vision for what we feel is the right path isn't what's ordained for us and not in our portion. So I feel like it was important that I was able to show and tell my story, even through my unknowing of where it was going to take me. And I think people being able to see that. But throughout the whole process, whether I'm playing at Spurs, whether I'm playing at Wealdstone, Boreham Wood or Hampton and Richmond, I think the most important thing people need to see is that being a good person is the most important thing, and the way you make people feel. And I've been blessed enough to have a platform where people have followed my journey, and hopefully I'd like to think that I've tried to make people feel good along the way and positive, and through bad situations, you know, something better's coming around the corner for sure.
Absolutely. And again, to come back to what you said, it's that relatability and that realness and that authenticity that creates connection between yourself and the people who are following you, as opposed to separation that we can sometimes see from, you know, the Premier League players with the fans.
Yeah.
And you certainly brought, you know, beautiful connection.
Cheers, bro.
along the way. Staying with Guyana, dream managerial job to manage your country, or what else would you have in mind?
Yeah, I'd love to manage. There's no hiding the fact that I'd love to be the manager of Guyana. I think it would be a perfect circle of life. I think, you know, going in as a young 24, 25-year-old, being the first captain that captained the nation at the Gold Cup, helping contribute towards that. And, you know, I'm a big dreamer. I'd love to get us to a World Cup one day. That would be an absolute dream. And hopefully that happens. And, you know, I can only do my best and try and make myself as qualified and as available as possible for that. And when it comes, it comes. And if it doesn't, I'll still be supporting from the sides anyway. But I've got big dreams. But like I said, you know, sometimes my dreams aren't always the dreams that are ordained for me. And I also have to be at a point where I encourage and invite things into my life that are ordained from above, rather than me trying to do everything in my own capacity, what is meant for me. And wherever I'm planted, whether I'm Guyana manager, whether I'm doing the under-16s at Spurs, I'm called to serve. I truly believe that I'm called to serve and do the best I can where I'm planted. So I don't care if I'm coaching the under-12s at Spurs, or I'm doing an under-8 1-to-1 on a Friday night at Power League, or I'm managing my country. I'm going to give my absolute best and try and make that person feel as valued as possible and give him the best opportunity to go and succeed. So that's what I'm here to do, man.
Amazing what you said before as well about what's ordained or for us. I was reading a book the other day, and a quote that stuck with me was, I'm not sure if I get it exactly right, but it was something along the lines of happiness. We can find happiness once we understand and let go, and understand that we are part of a greater purpose. So obviously, you know, we want what we want, we have our dreams, but once you kind of let go of that, you trust the process, trust what God has in store for you, and understand that we are here to serve and part of a bigger process that's going on.
Definitely.
Then we can, you know,
definitely
have more happiness from within us.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the most important thing in life. And I want to do so much. I still feel like I've not even touched the surface in what I want to achieve in this life. But again, going back to my journey, if you said that some of the things that I've been called to do over these last, say, 10 years of coaching, even on my coaching journey, you know, I started my coaching working in schools for the Tottenham Foundation. So I was going into schools working with kids of disabilities, kids that can't walk, kids that can't talk, can't see, autism, brain damaged. I had to do wheelchair football. I've done across the whole, I guess, spectrum of ability.
This is while you're still playing, by the way, coming through at Spurs and just started doing the coaching as well.
No, so this is when I'd just left. I'd come out of Barnet. So I dropped out the Football League and I've gone down into non-league at Bournemouth. And yeah, I made a phone call to John McDermott and I said, John, you know, I need something else. This money that I'm on now is not going to be suffice for me. I need to make a better living. And unfortunately, the money that I was on at the club at the time wasn't good enough. So I needed to do something else. And all I'd known is football. Even though I was good at school, my education wasn't bad. But
it's funny how back then you called it money, but actually what it's gone on to be is actually purpose.
Oh, it's 100%. It's purpose. And I've got people like John McDermott, Alex Inglethorpe, who was my academy manager at Spurs at the time with John, and Chris Ramsey, Bradley Allen. These guys have helped me massively. And, you know, we speak about, you talked about how do I see my role in the academy now. Those coaches back then were exactly that. And I think I've always tried to emulate how they were for me. And John was great at the time. John said, look, I think you'd be a great coach. You need to finish off your badges. I didn't finish them off because I went on loan to Torquay. So he brought me back in to finish off my level 2. But he said, like, you're not coming in to do an academy side straight away. You're not coming in to even touch the under-9s yet. You are going to start at the very bottom. You're going to go into these schools. You're going to work with kids of disability. You're going to work with kids that can't kick a ball. You're going to work from the very bottom.
Wow.
And he ensured that. And, you know, some of the challenges that I had at that time, getting thrown into that with no experience of coaching in that environment, some of those challenges, they've certainly prepared and helped me for, you know, even managerial positions that I've been in.
100%. Incredible grounding and foundation.
The foundation grounded, but it's all about understanding people and what people need and how they are going to get success or joy or whatever it is may be out of that session or out of that practice. And, you know, having had that opportunity to work then, and then even I think I worked in the foundation for 7 years. You know, after a year, John gave me the under-9 group. So again, I started at the very bottom. I've worked my way up, 11s, 15s, you know, and, you know, worked a bit with 16s and etc. I think that grounding has certainly helped me. But again, it comes back to understanding the person, giving that person purpose, making them feel valued, and all those groundings and teachings that I got those early stages of coaching have certainly helped me find my purpose. Where in a role where if you said, did I want to be a coach when I was coming through as a pro at Spurs, I couldn't think of anything worse, to be honest. I didn't want to coach. All I wanted to do was play at top level, play in front of thousands of fans, make lots of money, change my family's life. That's what I wanted to do. You said to me, did I want to go and work in schools in Haringey, Enfield and Tottenham? I was no chance. But, you know, I got thrown into it and I found purpose. And going back to it, I think some of the most fulfilling sessions that I've had go back to those sessions when I've got a group of 10 guys and girls in wheelchairs. Some can't talk, some can't see. And some of the most fulfilling sessions that I've had have been with those kids. And I remember those sessions even to this day. They helped me massively, but I got so much out of it and so much love for it. I thought, you know what, I can actually do this as a career after football. And going back to purpose, it certainly started in those early stages.
So you mentioned John McDermott, you know, several times throughout our conversation today. And that he was your mentor. What was his role? How did he help you? And why do you think it was so important for you to have a mentor? And why do you think it's so important for these young players also to have mentors themselves?
John's been an unbelievable light in my life, and thousands, I'm sure, other people will be testimony to John's impact on theirs also. I think as a coach and as a youth developer, I think we were very spoilt with the personnel that we had during that period, and there was no surprise why we had the cohort of players break through into the first team that we did at the time, the Harry Kanes, Masons, Townsends, etc. We had so many come through because we were spoilt with so many fantastic youth developers. John McDermott, Alex Inglethorpe, now Academy Director at Liverpool, Ricardo Moniz, the best technical coach still to this day that I've ever seen. Chris Ramsey, one of the best youth developers that I've ever seen, and fantastic man. Bradley Allen, youth team coach at Spurs now, but responsible for the success of Harry Kane, even Dane Scarlett coming through the other night. I've been witness to Brad's hours that he's put in with these players. Such selflessness about these coaches and staff at that period of time that I had access to. And going back to John McDermott, John was phenomenal with all the boys, and it was a different world that we lived in back then. We experienced a lot of tough love, and there was that fear factor with John as well. Like, you didn't want to get pulled into John's office. You get pulled into John's office, you was absolutely bricking yourself. I remember sometimes we had to try and skip past his office, try and get to the lunch hall. He'd leave his door open, and you just used to hope that you didn't get the curly finger asking to be pulled into the office. We just used to run across the door quickly, but sometimes he'd pull you in and he'd just sit down and he'd just be silent and just say nothing and just look at you. He'd be like, go on, get out now. And you just used to be bricking yourself sometimes. But I mean, he had that fear factor about him, but there was always that he had our best intentions on his heart always. What could he do to help us become successful and earn a living out of the game? John was brilliant at that, and it's so important for young players now to find that person that they can open up to, relate to, ask questions. People that have done that, had that experience, people that have walked the same steps that you have, sat in the same seats, but good people that can help you along the way, I think is really important. And I really encourage young players to go and find that mentor, someone that can help them. And I think you're at a fantastic stage now where even going back to what I was saying and being relatable, you're still young and you're still providing a service where players can open up to you, and you've only walked those steps not long ago. But you've gained so much knowledge through what's been passed down by your dad, by the people that have been in your life. And I know I'm testimony to seeing what you've done with some of the players that are now playing, in the Football League, in the National League. You're having a great impact on their life. So don't stop that and don't underestimate what you're doing. I think it's a fantastic thing, and players definitely need to check it out because you've helped me out massively. Even when I was going through a bit of a struggle at Oxford, you was quick to pick up the phone and say, how can I help you? How are you feeling? And not many people ask you how you're feeling. Being a manager is a lonely place. Trust me, it was a lonely place. So to get that, asking how I feel, because as a manager, you're always worried about how other people are. How are your players? Can you manage your players? Can you manage your staff? Are you managing your physios? Are you managing the chairman, director of football? But nobody really asks how you are. So I remember, I'll never forget during that time, you said, Coxie, how are you? Seen the result, but how are you in yourself? So that was fantastic, man. So don't underestimate what you're doing. You're having great impact, man.
So I really appreciate it, of course, if I can be there for you. And I couldn't not bring up Sam Cox Academy that's flourishing. And like I said at the start, you're helping to bring through, you're just helping these guys so much to realise and maximise their potential. Some of your boys now gone on to Arsenal, Tottenham, Hull. How tell us about Sam Cox Academy. How was that born? How did you start that? And what's going on with the Sam Cox Academy now?
Yeah, it was something that, thank you, by the way. It was something that came about during the lockdown period, actually. And I've always wanted something to pass down a legacy as such. I've always wanted something, a legacy. And, I've got big dreams of having my own facility one day and this and that. But I thought there had to be a foundation of something that I can build a legacy upon. And lockdown period was tough for everyone. I decided to start something up where I just asked boys that were struggling mentally, struggling physically, why don't you come down to the park? Big open area, we were allowed. It was, what was that rule? You can only train
an hour a day.
Yeah, something like that. And started up these sessions over lockdown, and it started with a couple players, and then it grew and grew and grew. And, there's a video on my social media of, I think there was about 40 players at one stage. And I remember it was James Mully and Remy. They said to me, Coxie, you should start charging us for this, because the service that you're providing is very good. And I said, could be a business opportunity here. And it started with, boys started giving me a $5 each time they came down, and one thing led to another. Parents started contacting me saying, can I do one-to-ones? Can I do small group sessions? And yeah, it kind of snowballed into something now that's a platform for players of all different abilities to, one, come down and have an enjoyable experience, but two, get an experience of what an academy feels like as such. And that's something that I'm very proud of. I've got some fantastic staff working for me now, and again, seeing these young players now getting success. Some of those players that started at lockdown are now young pros and scholars, full-time footballers, and some that have gone on to be in college programs, which for them at the time was huge success. So it doesn't matter on the ability. It's great to see young people flourishing, but having that access and opportunity to experience what it feels like to be in an academy, but under less pressured environment, still having the fun. The music's playing. Boys are coming into. You've got academy boys that are making friends with boys that are playing in grassroots. So it's great, and that's what I've wanted to encourage, an environment where everybody can flourish, try and achieve their individual success, whatever that may look like, and just try and help. And again, it comes down to purpose and helping out, and that's the main thing that I want to do, man.
Where can the boys find you, or maybe any parents listening to this who want to kind of push their son or find or daughter, find someone, a mentor or a coach? Where can we find you?
So I've got the Instagram, which is the Sam Cox Academy. I've got my app, Sam Cox Academy, and my emails attached to the social media platforms, samcoxacademy@hotmail.com. So yeah, I'm at a stage now where it is building and growing for all the age groups. I just want to keep pushing that, and that's something that when all of this kind of dusts over, the management, the academy stuff, everything else, there's still going to be a hub for young players to still achieve, learn, and become the best they can be. And hopefully with what we provide, the service that we provide, we can help maximize that potential. So that's what it's all about.
100%. No one better for the job than yourself. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Cheers, brother.
Keep shining your light and smiling like you do. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Love you, bro. Thank you for having me, man. God bless you, bro.
You too, brother.
Yeah, man.
You too.
Love.
Jeez.